There is a battle inside almost every person that has nothing to do with money, status, or even the people around them. It is the battle between what the soul wants in the moment and what the heart knows it truly needs. And one of the clearest places this battle appears is in something as ordinary as food, sleep, comfort, and desire. We live in a time where indulgence is normal, where constant eating is normal, where being ruled by appetite is normal, and where discipline feels extreme. But the spiritual path has always taught the opposite. If you want a stronger heart, you cannot let every craving become a command.
That is why fasting is not just about hunger. It is not a diet trend, and it is not simply a religious routine to be checked off a list. Fasting is training. It is a way of teaching the self that desire does not get to rule everything. Many people ask, what is the best fasting schedule? What is the quickest way? Should I do 16-hour fasting? Should I fast every Monday and Thursday? Should I do more? But the deeper question is not what sounds impressive. The deeper question is what will actually change you. Real transformation does not begin with extremes that break you. It begins with steady discipline that retrains the self, softens attachment to comfort, and teaches you how to say no to what once controlled you.
And this is where many people misunderstand hunger. The goal is not to destroy the body. The goal is not to become weak, miserable, or unable to function. The goal is control. You do not want to die of hunger. You want hunger to stop acting like your master. You want to reach the point where a craving appears and your soul says, I see you, but you do not own me. That is a completely different kind of strength. When someone says, I cannot start my day without this drink, or I need this snack, or I cannot focus unless I get what I want right now, what is being exposed is not just habit, it is dependency. Fasting reveals that dependency with painful honesty. This is why the people of purification always spoke about reducing excess. Not because food is evil, not because gathering is wrong, not because joy is forbidden, but because constant indulgence makes the heart heavy. A person who feeds every desire immediately will eventually lose the ability to resist anything. And once resistance is gone, temptation becomes much harder to defeat. So the wisdom is simple and powerful. Do not let comfort become your ruler. Eat, but do not live to eat. Rest, but do not worship rest. Enjoy blessings, but do not drown in them. Even sleep, something we all think of as harmless, can quietly shape the state of the heart. When the body becomes the center of life, every conversation becomes about physical needs. More comfort, more rest, more ease, more indulgence. But the spiritual tradition reminds us that the human being is not just a body. There is a soul inside this body, and that soul does not come alive through endless comfort. It comes alive through remembrance, discipline, prayer, restraint, and sincere turning back to Allah. That is why some of the righteous spoke about rising early, reducing excess sleep, and not allowing laziness to consume the best hours of the day. Not because exhaustion is noble, but because a sleeping heart can exist inside a fully rested body. And this is the part modern life rarely teaches. We are constantly told to optimize the body, manage the body, feed the body, decorate the body, protect the body, entertain the body. But very few people ask whether the soul is starving while the body is full. Very few ask whether the heart is becoming weaker while life is becoming easier.
A person can have endless options, perfect meals, a beautiful routine, and still feel spiritually empty. Why? Because the heart was not created to be satisfied by abundance alone. It was created to be connected to Allah. That connection does not appear in one dramatic moment. It is built through repeated acts of self-control. Every time you resist a craving for the sake of Allah, something in you changes. Every time you choose discipline over indulgence, the soul becomes lighter. Every time you fast with awareness instead of routine, you discover that your greatest enemy is not food itself, but the part of you that hates being denied. And that is exactly why fasting is so powerful. It exposes you to yourself. It reveals how quickly you become irritated, how attached you are to habit, how dependent you are on comfort, and how weak your patience really is. But that exposure is a mercy, because you cannot heal what you refuse to see. The struggle inside every human being has often been described as two forces pulling in opposite directions. One pulls upward toward sincerity, discipline, truth, and nearness to Allah. The other pulls downward toward desire, laziness, indulgence, and spiritual carelessness. And many people think the answer is simply to keep fighting the bad side directly. But often the better strategy is to strengthen the good side so much that the weaker side loses its power. If the heart becomes stronger, temptation becomes weaker. If remembrance becomes stronger, heedlessness becomes weaker. If discipline becomes stronger, cravings stop sounding like commands. This is why spiritual change is not only about saying no, it is also about saying yes to better things. Yes to fasting. Yes to less excess. Yes to moments of silence. Yes to waking before dawn. Yes to giving the heart space to breathe. Yes to being alone without always needing noise, food, entertainment, or distraction. Because one of the hardest things for modern people is simply being with themselves. When there is no scrolling, no snacking, no constant stimulation, many people feel restless. But that restlessness is telling you something. It is showing you how much external comfort has taken control of your inner state. There is also a hidden beauty in learning to accept less. Less food at times. Less sleep at times, less indulgence, less noise, less dependence. Because when the self becomes used to constant abundance, gratitude begins to die. You stop seeing blessings as gifts and start treating them like guarantees, and that is a dangerous place for the heart. But when you voluntarily step back from comfort, even for a while, blessings become visible again. Water feels like mercy. A simple meal feels like generosity. Rest feels like a gift. And the heart begins to soften in ways that luxury alone could never produce. This is not a call to reject life. It is a call to stop being ruled by it. It is not a call to hate the body. It is a call to put the soul back in command. It is not a call to make religion difficult. It is a call to recover its wisdom. Because when fasting is done with understanding, it does more than reduce appetite. It reorders your entire relationship with desire. It teaches you that urges can rise without being obeyed. It teaches you that discomfort is survivable. It teaches you that not every want deserves satisfaction. And most importantly, it teaches you that the heart grows stronger each time the ego hears no. Over time, something beautiful begins to happen. The things that once felt impossible start feeling manageable. The coffee you thought you needed loses its grip. The food you could not stop thinking about stops dominating your mind. The urge to constantly satisfy every appetite weakens. And in that space, the heart starts hearing something it could not hear before. It hears the call to Allah more clearly. It becomes more awake in prayer. It becomes more sensitive to right and wrong. It becomes less addicted to immediate pleasure and more drawn to what is lasting. And this is why the path of purification has always involved practice, not just ideas. You do not become strong by admiring discipline. You become strong by living it. You do not gain a pure heart by talking about it. You gain it by repeatedly choosing what pleases Allah over what pleases the ego. This is slow work, humbling work, sometimes frustrating work, but it is real work, and it is the kind of work that changes a person from the inside out. In the end, the goal is not to become a person who never desires. The goal is to become a person whose desires are no longer in charge. A person who can eat without being enslaved by food, sleep without being consumed by laziness, enjoy blessings without forgetting the giver, fast not as a performance, but as a weapon against the tyranny of the self. That is where freedom begins, not when every craving is fulfilled, but when the soul finally learns that it does not have to obey every craving that speaks. And perhaps that is the real invitation here, to stop asking only how to make life more comfortable and start asking how to make the heart more alive. Because one day all the comforts of this world will fade, but the condition of the heart will remain. And the person who trained their soul in private hunger, quiet discipline, and sincere restraint may discover that what once felt difficult was actually mercy all along. What once felt like deprivation was actually liberation. And what once felt like struggle was the very thing that saved them.